By subscribing and liking the content, give us a like to continue delivering the most important information. Stay safe by being vigilant. With that out of the way, let's delve into today's news. The NSO Group is an Israeli cyber intelligence company known for developing Pegasus, a sophisticated piece of spyware. Pegasus is designed to infiltrate mobile devices, enabling the remote surveillance of the device. The software can access text messages, emails, calls, and other data, and it can also activate the phone's camera and microphone for real-time surveillance. The NSO Group has been embroiled in controversies for allegedly selling Pegasus to governments and organizations that have used it to spy on activists, journalists, and political opponents. Reports have surfaced of it being used in various countries to target such individuals, drawing significant criticism from privacy advocates and human rights organizations. Apple sued the NSO Group in November 2021, aiming to hold it accountable for the surveillance and targeting of Apple users with the Pegasus spyware. Apple's lawsuit was based on violations of the U.S. Computer Fraud and Abuse Act and California's unfair competition law. The tech giant also sought to prevent further abuse by seeking a permanent injunction to ban NSO Group from using any Apple software, services, or devices. Apple's recent legal victory prevented the case from being dismissed and stopped it from being moved to Israel, where NSO Group is based. Additionally, Apple has been proactive in its approach to safeguard user privacy and security. When Apple discovers activities consistent with a state-sponsored spyware attack, it notifies affected users. The company has implemented various security measures, such as the Blast Door security mechanism in iOS 15, which has seen no evidence of successful remote attacks against devices running this in later versions. To support the fight against state-sponsored spyware, Apple has pledged a $10 million contribution to organizations engaged in cyber surveillance research and advocacy and has provided pro bono assistance to groups like the Citizen Lab at the University of Toronto. For a non-technical audience, the situation can be understood as a legal battle between Apple, a leading technology company known for its secure devices, and the NSO Group, which is accused of creating and selling digital spying tools to entities that have used them unethically. This case highlights the ongoing struggle between privacy rights and the use of advanced technology for surveillance purposes. Against NSO Group. Apple's lawsuit against NSO Group. Apple sued NSO Group in November 2021, aiming to hold it accountable for targeting and surveilling Apple users with its Pegasus spyware. A U.S. court recently denied NSO Group's motion to dismiss the case or move it to Israel, allowing the lawsuit to proceed in the United States. The court ruled that Apple had sufficiently alleged that NSO Group violated the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, CFA, and California's unfair competition law. Apple is seeking a permanent injunction to ban NSO Group from using any Apple software, services, or devices. Apple also plans to contribute $10 million to organizations pursuing cyber surveillance research and advocacy. New forensic investigation tools. Cybersecurity researchers have developed a new method called iShutdown to detect spyware like Pegasus on iOS devices. This method looks for traces in a file called shutdown.log, which records reboot events and their characteristics. Researchers from Kaspersky found that this log file could store entries for several years, providing a valuable forensic artifact for identifying anomalous entries. Recent findings in India. Amnesty International Security Lab confirmed that high-profile journalists in India were recently targeted with Pegasus spyware on their iPhones. The forensic analysis found traces of Pegasus spyware activity on the devices of journalists Siddharth Varadarajan and Anand Mangnal. Anand Mangnal's device showed evidence of a zero-click exploit, which installs spyware without any user interaction. Both journalists were targeted with the same attacker-controlled email address, indicating they were targeted by the same Pegasus customer. Indian authorities have not provided transparency on whether they have procured or used Pegasus spyware. The situation underscores the ongoing challenges in holding creators and users of invasive spyware accountable. While companies like Apple are taking legal action and creating technical solutions to detect and protect against such threats, these spyware tools continue to be used in various parts of the world for surveillance of activists, journalists, and other individuals. The development of methods like iShutdown is crucial for identifying and protecting against such cyber threats, emphasizing the importance of technical vigilance alongside legal efforts. Global impact and responses. The Pegasus spyware has had a worldwide impact, with allegations of its use by various governments leading to surveillance of journalists, activists, and political figures. This has triggered global discussions on the ethics of surveillance, the need for greater transparency, and the importance of safeguarding human rights in the digital age. Technological arms race. The development of spyware like Pegasus signifies an ongoing technological arms race in cyber espionage. Companies and governments are investing in advanced technologies that can potentially be misused for invasive surveillance, leading to a complex debate about the balance between national security and individual privacy. Regulatory actions. In response to the misuse of such spyware, there are calls for stricter regulations and international agreements to control the export and use of surveillance technologies. These regulations would aim to prevent the abuse of spyware and hold both vendors and users accountable. Cybersecurity defense mechanisms. The tech community, including companies like Apple, are continually developing new defenses to protect against these sophisticated threats. This includes regular software updates, security patches, and the introduction of new security features to detect and prevent spyware attacks. Industry collaboration. There is an increasing emphasis on collaboration within the cybersecurity industry to tackle the threats posed by state-sponsored spyware. Sharing intelligence, best practices, and research findings are crucial for staying ahead of cyber threats. Civil society and human rights advocacy. Civil society organizations and human rights advocates play a pivotal role in documenting abuses and pressuring governments and international bodies to act against the misuse of spyware. Transparency and accountability. There is a growing demand for transparency from both spyware vendors and governments regarding the use of surveillance tools. This includes clarity on procurement processes, usage policies, and the legal frameworks governing surveillance activities. Technical forensics and research. Technical forensic analysis, such as those conducted by Amnesty International Security Lab and other entities, provides critical evidence of spyware deployment and misuse, contributing to accountability and informed public discourse. Impact on cybersecurity practices. The prevalence of spyware like Pegasus has a significant impact on cybersecurity practices across all sectors. Organizations are increasingly required to implement more robust security measures, employee training, and incident response strategies to mitigate the risk of surveillance and espionage. The Pegasus case exemplifies the intricate interplay between technology, security, privacy, and human rights in the digital era. It serves as a stark reminder of the potential for technology to be used in ways that may undermine democratic values and highlights the importance of vigilant, multi-stakeholder approaches to cybersecurity. Expanding further into the ramifications of the NSO Group and Pegasus spyware developments, we see broader concerns and actions across various domains. Cybersecurity industry response. The cybersecurity industry is responding to the threats posed by Pegasus-like spyware with enhanced threat detection systems, including behavior-based analytics and AI-driven anomaly detection tools. International law and human rights. International law scholars and human rights organizations are advocating for the development of new frameworks to regulate state behavior in cyberspace, particularly concerning human rights obligations. Public-private partnerships. There is a growing trend towards public-private partnerships aimed at enhancing national security while preserving individual privacy, with a focus on developing ethical guidelines for the deployment of surveillance technologies. Advancements in encryption. The threat posed by advanced spyware is leading to advancements in encryption technologies, with end-to-end encrypted services becoming more widespread as a countermeasure to unauthorized surveillance. Cyber diplomacy. Cyber diplomacy efforts are intensifying, with countries engaging in international discussions to establish norms and agreements to prevent the proliferation and misuse of surveillance technologies like Pegasus. Research and development (R&D). Increased R&D into secure communication platforms and privacy-preserving technologies is being prioritized to protect against the misuse of surveillance software. Industry standards and best practices. There is a concerted push to establish industry standards and best practices for software development, with an emphasis on security by design and privacy by default to mitigate risks associated with spyware. Education and awareness. Educational initiatives aimed at raising awareness about the dangers of spyware are being implemented, targeting both the general public and specific at-risk groups like journalists and activists. Cyber insurance. The cyber insurance market is evolving to account for the risks posed by state-sponsored cyber activities, including surveillance, offering policies that cover damage caused by such actions. Global cybersecurity alliances. Global cybersecurity alliances are being reinforced, with countries and organizations sharing intelligence and resources to combat the use of malicious spyware. The Pegasus controversy has catalyzed a multifaceted response that is shaping the future of cybersecurity, privacy, and surveillance. These developments are indicative of a broader recognition of the profound challenges that state-sponsored cyber tools pose to the global digital ecosystem. Ethical use of surveillance tech. The conversation around the ethical use of surveillance technologies is intensifying, with a call for international ethical standards that can be universally applied to the development, sale, and use of such tools. Oversight and auditing mechanisms. There is a growing call for the implementation of robust oversight and auditing mechanisms to ensure that any use of surveillance technology is transparent, accountable, and subject to judicial oversight. Emerging technology implications. The implications of emerging technologies like AI and machine learning in the creation of advanced spyware are being scrutinized. The focus is on ensuring these technologies are not exploited for malicious surveillance purposes. Impact on cybersecurity insurance. Cybersecurity insurance products are being reevaluated to account for the risks of state-sponsored spyware, influencing premiums and coverage terms for businesses and organizations. Shifts in cybersecurity investment. Investment in cybersecurity is shifting towards defensive capabilities that are robust enough to withstand the sophisticated threats posed by tools like Pegasus, including zero-day exploits. Nation-state cyber strategy. Nations are reassessing their cyber strategies, balancing the offensive capabilities required for national security with the defensive needs of protecting citizens' privacy. Legislative developments. Legislative developments are underway in various countries to better define the legality and limits of surveillance tools within their jurisdictions, aiming to protect against abuses while allowing for lawful intercepts when necessary. Cross-border data flow impacts. The use of spyware has implications for cross-border data flows, with countries considering data localization requirements to safeguard against international surveillance. Data protection and privacy laws. Data protection and privacy laws are being updated to address the challenges posed by spyware, with increased penalties for illegal surveillance activities. Research on cyber espionage. Academic and private research into cyber espionage is growing, aiming to understand the scale of state-sponsored cyber activities and develop countermeasures. Global cybersecurity agreements. There are efforts to develop global cybersecurity agreements that include clauses to prevent the misuse of surveillance tools, similar to other international arms control agreements. Incident response and remediation. Incident response frameworks are being updated to include remediation strategies for spyware attacks, including how to address compromised privacy and data breaches. Advocacy and pressure groups. Advocacy and pressure groups are increasingly active, pushing for policy changes and mobilizing public opinion against the misuse of surveillance technologies. Private sector role and responsibility. The role and responsibility of the private sector in preventing the misuse of surveillance technologies are being redefined, with calls for companies to conduct human rights due diligence before selling their products. The ongoing developments surrounding NSO Group and Pegasus are prompting a comprehensive reevaluation of cybersecurity at the intersection of technology, law, policy, and ethics. The focus is not only on countering the immediate threats but also on establishing a resilient and principled foundation for the future of digital security and privacy. And now, as we reach the end of our news segment, please remember, for a detailed list of our sources, you can find them in the description of our YouTube video. The notion of technological firms like Microsoft continually releasing updates and the financial incentives tied to them warrants a nuanced discussion, especially when juxtaposed with the issue of spyware like Pegasus, which has been associated with NSO Group. From a critical perspective, one might argue that the regular cadence of software updates from companies like Microsoft is not merely about improving user experience or security, but also a business model strategy. Each update, especially those tied to security improvements, can be seen as both a necessary response to the evolving threat landscape and a means to maintain their market position and revenue streams. This business model is particularly relevant in the context of cybersecurity. As security threats evolve, companies must adapt quickly, developing and deploying updates to protect users. However, this cycle of perpetual updates can also be viewed as a revenue strategy, with companies benefiting from the demand for continual product improvements. When examining the role of R&D in cybersecurity and the contributions of tech giants to national security infrastructure, it's crucial to consider their business models and revenue generation methods. Advanced R&D efforts, particularly those aimed at developing cybersecurity tools, are often shrouded in confidentiality due to the sensitive nature of security and defense. The partnerships or potential fronts that companies like Microsoft might establish in countries with robust cybersecurity sectors, such as Israel, could be multifaceted, balancing commercial interests, national security contributions, and the advancement of cybersecurity technologies. It's important to recognize that these assessments often arise from the complex relationship between the private sector's technological innovations and their applications in state security apparatuses. While Microsoft and other tech giants assert that their updates are primarily aimed at enhancing user security and experience, the business benefits of such updates are also clear. The broader conversation here also encompasses the ethics of surveillance technology. While firms like Microsoft focus on securing their systems against threats, including state-sponsored tools like Pegasus, there's a parallel dialogue about the responsibilities of such corporations to prevent their technologies from enabling invasive surveillance when used by governments or other entities. In summary, analyzing the business strategies of technology firms, the role of R&D in cybersecurity, and the intricate dynamics of national defense and privacy reveals a complex ecosystem where ethical, legal, and financial considerations are deeply intertwined. It underscores the importance of transparency and regulation to ensure that advancements in cybersecurity serve to protect users and uphold democratic values rather than contributing to invasive surveillance practices. Thank you to everyone who watched today's program. Remember, by following us, you become part of a reliable source for information and advice. Whether you like the program or not, please press subscribe to join our community. This helps us improve and ensures you're among the first to receive our latest news and programs. Don't forget to hit the like button and share our channel with your friends. Farewell, until we meet again.